We met a week ago now. Just a week and a day. Yeah, a week and a day. And your original reason for coming, dog aggression, humping you guys.
Yeah. We don't know if that's we haven't seen that in action yet.
Yeah.
You haven't been.
I think now that she's been humped herself, she kind of got a little taste of her medicine.
And then issues around food were your main concerns. Dog aggression being obviously the main concern, and weren't able to take her out and about and be around other dogs. She's really was adamant about being aggressive to them. Correct.
And pulling.
Yeah, and pulling. Yeah.
Leash.
Yeah. And so when you first got here, what was your original thinking? Like, did you feel that she was going to be able to be helped, or do you feel like you were kind of like, we'll kind of see if
I think you were going to help her. I just didn't think you were going to help her in this short of time.
Yeah.
I knew from Mom talking about, and knowing you over the years and what you've done with dogs over the years, I knew you'd fix her. I just didn't think it'd be fixed in a week.
Yeah.
I was kind of on the same boat. Like, I think you have the capability to fix it all, but I didn't realize that you would get so much accomplished in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, I figured, like, okay, we'll work on the dog aggression, and then next we'll do this. Whereas, like, you kind of covered everything all in a week's worth of time. So,
Yeah. And so she gets dropped off. Was it Saturday, and it was at last Saturday, and it was at what, like?
When we left, it was about 2:30.
2:30. That's what I was thinking. So so you left about 2:30, and then I sent you a video of her with other dogs Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what were your thoughts when you saw her with other dogs Sunday morning?
I was a little scared to open the video because I'm like, oh great,
Yeah.
this is gonna be all bad. Like, he's gonna know exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want to open the video right off the bat. But then I missed my dog so much. I'm like, I just gotta see her.
Yeah.
So then once seeing the video, I was like, holy smokes!
We were
like
both
already
in shock. But then, like, she was like, she looks so sad, and she's really missing her all week long. We both were missing her, so it was really hard to see her not wagging her tail all the time. But I also know that.
But in the long run, her not wagging her tail from the get-go really, like, paid off, because in the rest of the videos, like, she was happy playing with other dogs. Her tail would, like, go up and wiggle when it was, like, time to eat, and all the other dogs came in to eat. And when you guys were on your walk for a little bit, her tail was down, and then she was kind of like, oh, this isn't half bad. So.
And then when she was around the cats, the kittens.
That was adorable.
Yeah.
That was impressive, actually.
Yeah.
My mom's cats, she always wants to, she knows she's going to get in trouble if she chases them.
Yeah.
So it's like, when our guard's down, we're usually on top of it. When the cats are around, we're like, stay here, lay down. And then she'll just do the little, chase the cats.
Or sometimes just like a jerk of her feet, and those cats are gone.
Yeah. I didn't get it on video, but the cats were wrestling around and chasing each other, and they actually ran into her. They ran into her, and I just said, hey, just to make sure that it all went, and they all went dispersing different directions. They're like, I don't want to get in trouble and anything, right? But yeah, when you mentioned about the tail, like, I had talked to you about how a lot of times we think that the tail wagging means happiness, and we don't want to get caught in that thinking, because it's not always an indicator of they're happy or friendly.
Right.
And we need to look at the whole body language with it. And so when we look at a dog that's being aggressive, and then then I'm now I'm moving her through that. It's going to produce stress, but we have to carry her through that, and that we have to understand that there's actually good stress. That, like, think about working out. You stress your body out,
Right.
and we say it's beneficial to work out. And so really I look at what took place is the mental and emotional workout. We had to work that out, you know, so that she could experience this thing, and she needed to see it from a different angle.
Right.
And so once, you know, we put her in and she starts moving through this process, she starts to look to open up. And so then there's going to be this up and down, and we have to understand too that if we get caught in that search for, I just want to make them happy, we can often run into problems, just like with our children. If we're always thinking about them just being happy, we're gonna end up spoiling them and running into issues because we go, I don't want them to ever feel negative emotions. But like, those emotions are actually positive. Fear keeps you safe. What do you do with that fear? You know? So she was being aggressive with it. So then when she starts feeling like, oh, maybe I can't or shouldn't go this route, that is now putting it into, instead of being aggressive, she's like, let me be more thoughtful, let me be more cautious. And it's important for her to feel that and experience that. And then she can start to assess that situation and gather more knowledge. So the more she's been with the dogs, then she starts to feel them out, and then she starts to become more
She's more like a dog.
more comfortable. So then she starts playing with all the dogs that would, and then I'm that mediator that says, can you hear me now? Even if it's going good, I need to make sure that she understands who I am in this whole thing. If we get caught in, oh, they're playing, we could end up with a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we want to remember that when dogs are playing, that it's two dogs trying to determine who's who without actually fighting.
Right.
But it can reach a point where they fight, just like kids playing a game, adults playing a game.
Right.
Think about how many fights break out over sports. You know,
Yeah.
like, we're just playing.
Yeah.
No, it can escalate. It can climb, especially when you're having a hard time figuring out who is more dominant and who is gonna come out on top. It can do that. So the wagging tail, what I'm looking for is, like, I want to see it moving with the body, where you see more of the hips wiggling, you know, the body moving, not necessarily like it where it's rigid. Now, when I say I'm not looking for that, what I mean is, like, that's just going to take place, but I have to be aware of what that means versus thinking, oh, well, just because the tail's wagging, okay, it's all good.
Yeah.
And then people will say, well, then all of a sudden this thing happened. And it's like, but if you can read it, you're not going to think so much all of a sudden.
I never thought of it that way when I saw a dog, but I've seen like 3 different levels of Ellie's tail.
Yeah.
Whether down,
yep.
more
Like neutral.
Kind of, I'm not sure at the moment, and then when it's up, and that's when her hair was standing up.
Yeah, and so the hair up is sensing the danger, the fear, and so that's letting me know that she's in that space. But she could have the hackles up, and her body could be moving because she's feeling like
Mixed emotions.
a little bit mixed, right?
Yeah.
And so her tail and body moving and the hackles up isn't as, it's like, okay, Like she's feeling the potential of what could happen. And then when we see the tail down, this is a more subordinate, submissive position. And when the tail is up, this is a dominant, assertive position. So, that tail going all the way up and hackles up, like this is, and it's like, say her body's stiff and that tail could be wagging. This is where we don't want to be thinking, oh, she's necessarily friendly. We got to be paying attention. And we need to be able to make her feel subordinate and submissive. And so we want to be able to make her tail go down, those hackles go down, the ears go back. And that can be difficult for people because of how it makes the human being feel about it. Because then we go, oh, poor girl, and she hates her life, and she's not going to like me, and
I knew you're going to look at me right when you said that.
Like that's...
She's going to have a hard time with that.
That's how we interpret that. But we have to change our thinking and understand our role as a parent. I'm not there to be their best friend. I'm being a parent, a leader, and so I'm deciding what's best for us, what's best for the pack, what's best for her. I'm making these decisions based on everything that's going on. And I need to be able to influence her like that. If I can't influence her like that, then I'm not going to be able to be successful. It's going to be where you can't go on those walks, can't put her with other dogs, won't listen to you. It's so important. We have to understand the dog's perspective and how they do things, and so yeah, the tail wagging thing is a huge misconception. I see it all the time. I've seen people, dogs wagging its tail, they go up to say hello and the dog bites them. And they go, oh my gosh, like they were wagging its tail, they were friendly. Obviously not.
Yeah, just kidding.
So this is where teaching you guys the body language and how to read it, and I'm always looking to get better at it as well, and then better at explaining it, and I mean, it takes time. And so we're all on a journey, and I might be on a different page than you guys, but I'm still on the journey of learning and growing and always finding more understanding. But with this, with being able to influence her, where we can get that tail to drop, the hackles to drop, the ears to go back. This should be seen as a positive, because then we're seeing that she's going, okay, I understand you, I got you, I hear you, I feel you, I don't want a problem here, Instead of it like, oh, she's so sad and depressed and miserable, like that's how most people will see it. When they start to shake, like I see it as, this is a positive. I see it as a dog that's regulating and letting this go, moving through that emotion, just letting it go. We don't want to see that and then go, poor girl, let me try to soothe her and like try to comfort her. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm spacing on it, but we don't want to be thinking that this is what's going to help her. We are only going to create more fear, and we're going to keep them stuck. And so I say I say something, and her tail drops, the hackles go down, the ears go back, and she starts to shake. That's all the energy that she would have been using to potentially be aggressive. That's all that fear, that emotion that was there, that is now having to be dispersed of. It's like purging this,
it's like adrenaline.
This fear, adrenaline, cortisol level. Like, it's that energy. It's gotta disperse. There's a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, and in that book they talk about how deer gets chased by a lion, let's say, and the deer gets away, and after that the deer is going to shake, twitch, do all these things, and it's expending all that energy, that emotion, and then it's going to move on from that. It's not going to hold on to that, oh, remember when we got chased by the deer, and they're not going to keep reliving it and thinking about how awful that was and they wish lions didn't chase them. You know,
just move on to the next
and they're still aware of that stuff, but they're not like human beings. What we do is we latch on. Oh, poor Ellie, she was from this one situation where they abandoned her, and you know, and poor girl, and we latch on to that, and we just keep living and rehashing that out all the time, and everything. Kay's here to get her dog. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll get stuck in the past. Our mind won't let it go. We ruminate on that thing. And so we have to be able to see the positive in some of these things that I'm going to be moving you through, because if not, it eats you alive and you can't do it. It's so hard. It's going to be difficult because it's going to produce a certain thought and feeling within you, you know, and then you have to move through that and let it go and start shifting your perspective on it and moving through that so that you get to a different place, which then ultimately gets Ellie to a different place. That's the difference between how she's behaving with me here versus how she behaves with you guys. I'm different. So she then moves through these things into a different place because I'm different, things are different, and she can just let it go. And it can happen pretty quickly. And she's a real social dog. She's actually pretty social, you know. So with these things I'm saying, with the wagging the tail, like the tail wag, with the getting the tail to go down, the hackles to go down, the ears to go back, the shaking. What are your thoughts on this, and do you have any questions about it?
No, I mean, it makes sense, and like you showed us through the process in the videos how it worked. I mean, like, it works, you know, sometimes just making a noise and she stopped, or just when you asked her, like, can you hear me, when she was in the backyard and she looked right at you and then everything was calm. And so it all makes sense, like it all fits in after watching the videos and then hearing you talk to us about it. It all lines up just exactly with how she was and then how she is.
Yeah, yeah.
I fear that we'll get stuck in our ways of how we've always been with dogs, and we've made so much progress. You've made so much progress here that when we bring her home, even though we'll try and stick to our guns, that we're gonna make her go back to the way she was.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what, you know, can happen, but that's why you got to simplify. You got to simplify things, and you gotta think like, I have to be conscious of what am I doing, and you are gonna have to move through these things so that you become more and more aware. And sometimes you're gonna have to experience things go wrong before you understand and actually get with it. And that's how I think a lot of times it can work.
The other thing is, I keep thinking in my head, her mom Kelly, or Haley or any of our friends or family that sees Ellie, we're going to be Tosh and I are going to be on the path that you have been doing. So when they're around these other people and coddling her or not going on the same path, that worries me too, that she's going to she'd get away with.
Yeah, but this is where I don't let people do that. And this is what being a leader is all about. Like, and most people, they do not want to tell people how it is because we don't want to upset them. We don't want them to not like us. We're worried about losing the relationship. Like, so then we just zip our mouth and then we suffer the consequences of that. And so, yeah, when, like, if I'm around, like, for example, my mom, she would want to try to interact with the dogs in a certain way. And I told her, do not do that. And it's really difficult because, she's been my mom. And now the roles are reversed where I'm telling her, don't do something. I'm telling her what to do, not to do, And it was a struggle for a while. But I just kept with it and do not do that, don't do it. And she would get uncomfortable by that and push back on that. And I'm like, look, it's my dog. Like, this is what I'm saying. And then if they don't want to follow that, then fine. I won't bring karma around. I won't do that. Like, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to navigate that, and I'm then going to say, why aren't they actually listening and believing in what I say and respecting what I have to say? And I'm going to have a problem with that. I don't like being disrespected like that. And so I have to create the reality that my dog lives in. And so Thea's mom came over, and we haven't seen her in a while, and when she came in to see the place, and she wanted to, like, try to go, oh, hi everyone, and I said, don't do that. Like, I said, I'll let you know when you can pet the dogs and all that and how we can go about that, but right now just don't pet the dogs. She's like, fine, I'll keep my hands in my pocket the whole time. And I said, well, you don't need to do that. I'm just saying, don't pet the dogs. Yeah. But how she responds is, well, I'll keep my hands in my pocket the whole time. It's kind of like going to an extreme, but then later she was going, oh, look at you. And I said, hey, like, well, what actually happened is she started doing that, and then this dog started getting excited, and then another dog came at the dog that was getting excited. And I said, don't be trying to get him riled up like that. And this is why. And later she was telling Thea that she didn't need to be lectured. But it's like, this is how things are. And she said she wants to get to know me. It's like, well, this is part of getting to know me. I don't like that. Don't do that. This is why. And it's not anything personal. People do this all the time. It's not like this is what society has told us to be like, that this is what you do. And so it's not anything about shame on you necessarily, like you are the only one. No, this is just how things are. I'm letting you know, don't do that, and this is why. And so it can be very uncomfortable, and then I have to deal with the repercussions of this, and then I have to sort all that out. Yeah. But I stick to my guns of, like, this is it, and this is how it goes, and if you're mad at me and all this, that's just, so be it.